What's up, everybody? Lines on Paper here, and this is my review of Batman 3 Jokers by Jeff Johns, Jason Fabok, and Brad Anderson. Before I get into this review, I would like to just take a minute to talk about my own comic, Malevolent Rising, issue number 3, now funding at Indiegogo. I'll have a link in the description. Please check it out. This is issue number 3, but I do have a way in this current crowdfund for you to get your hands on issues 1 and 2 so you can get the entire story. So, again, link in the description. Now, let's roll on to the review. So, Batman the 3 Jokers is not a book that I was really looking forward to checking out and reading, but because it's been something that's been simmering in the Batman universe for so long, and I know it's going to be a very big event, and it's been very well hyped, so we have to talk about it, even though normally I like to reserve for recommendation books, and whether or not I recommend this, I'll save to the end, but yeah, normally this would have been one that I would have tackled, but let's go ahead and jump in. So this story actually started off a number of years ago in a Justice League story called Apocalypse War, where Batman was took control of the Mobius chair, and in doing so was granted knowledge or access to all knowledge of the universe. And of course, one of the questions he asked is, what is the Joker's real name? And the chair gave him the answer, and that answer was, Joker's been 3 people presumably since the beginning, and Batman's just never known this. So that takes us into the story itself. So this story kicks off with Batman driving his Batmobile through the Wayne family cemetery, lurching out of the Batmobile, clearly badly wounded, and shambling up to Wayne Manor, where he gets into the cave with the help of Alfred. And Alfred, as you know, the butler, always patches Batman up when he's wounded. So we are treated to a montage of Alfred patching up Bruce Wayne, and as he goes through and you see all these wounds all over Batman's back and arms and chest, you see a quick flash to the villain which did the damage to him in which battle, and it's kind of a neat scene. I enjoyed it. Again, Jeff Johns, he is such a good writer when it comes to setting up a mood or character interactions, and going forward, I'm not giving you credit for that, Jeff Johns. You are good at it, and you know that, so that's just expected of you at this point. But again, this artwork by Jason Fabok, look how nice that is. What a great looking book this was. I enjoyed the artwork very, very much. So this story continues with Batman getting patched up, and as it happens, you are cut in with a news story of Joker having murdered 3 criminal mob bosses at Ace Chemicals. And as we're hearing the story unfold, all the gory details, we get to see Barbara Gordon and Jason Todd, who are really the people in the Batman family who have been affected the most by the Joker. Jason Todd obviously was Robin, and he was beaten to death in Death of the Family. And then Barbara Gordon was shot and crippled in The Killing Joke, even though that's since been undone. Or not undone, but she can walk again. So one of the issues that I have with this story is the idea of the 3 Jokers itself. So I bought the book, and this is obviously a part 1, so I am open-minded to the premise, but ultimately the idea that Joker's been 3 people, and the way it's explained in the comic is it's 3 archetypical Jokers. You basically have Killing Joke, you have Death in the Family, and then assuming this is a Jack Napier type, which would be the 3rd one, more of a criminal mastermind, more of a brains of the operation. And the idea is that these 3 Jokers have worked and have recruited other people to be stand-ins for the Joker in some of his random stories, some of the lesser Joker appearances. And Batman's really only encountered the Joker on a handful of occasions over the years. And it tends to be the big Joker storylines, like Death in the Family or Killing Joke, or the Smiling Fish was one that they refer to. And for me to accept that premise, you have to accept that Batman, the world's greatest detective, just never noticed that this is a man who can tell everything about an assailant by the way he throws a punch, or can walk into a room and get a sudden smell or an inclination of a certain kind of dirt and realize where a killer has walked through for the last 5 days, but he's not able to notice that his arch nemesis has been 5 different people. He never figured out that maybe one's slightly taller, chubbier, lankier. I assume they go to lengths to look like each other. I mean, that's a given, but Batman's supposed to be the world's greatest detective. To accept that, it would be like accepting Sherlock Holmes just missed a clue. Like, he just missed something, and that is, to me, that's a hard pill for me to swallow. That's hard for me to understand how somebody who's been built up to be such a meta level detective is going to miss something so obvious like, oh, you're 3 guys. I don't know. That's just me. I know a lot of people have really been excited for the story, and I've gotten into arguments with other fans about it, and I don't even think I'm in the majority. I think I'm in the vast minority of people when it comes to this story, so this is probably not going to be a very popular video, but that's my opinion when it comes to this. And it also sets me kind of on a rant on the Joker's use in media itself. So this comic is a DC Black Label release. Now, the Black Label was initially supposed to be out of canon storylines told by creators that have a lot more freedom with the characters, because the stories aren't going to have ramifications in the comics in general. So I don't even know if this story is supposed to take place in canon. To me, it's confusing, because Black Label is supposed to be an out-of-continuity storytelling imprint, but this is continuing a story that is from an in-canon Justice League story. And then we have things like Alfred is alive. In the comics, Alfred is very much passed on. Commissioner Gordon is still head of the police department in Gotham, and that's not the case in the Batman comics. So you have a lot of elements that make me think this isn't going to be a canon Batman story. But that clashes with the fact that the idea of the 3 Jokers is a canon idea. So if somebody saw that this was solicited a bit differently, maybe read something, you want to put it in the comments below, I'd really appreciate it. You can straighten me out on this one. But one thing that I've noticed about the DC Black Label is it's become very much a Joker label. They've only put out 7 to 10 books, and 4 of them have been Joker-centered, based on and that's out of the entire DC universe. And then you have Batman Last Night on Earth, which has Joker as a side character in that as well. So, in my opinion, the Black Label is just kind of this Joker comic storytelling device, which kind of takes a bit of what the Black Label is supposed to be, in my opinion, away. And not only does it take away from the Black Label in general, but the Joker is supposed to be Batman's apex villain. He is supposed to be the big bad. He's the boogeyman. He's the man in the shadows. And when Joker shows up, it's supposed to be a big deal. And when you have Joker in a comic book every single week to the point where he's practically a side character or a supporting character, it's not a big deal. Joker, when he shows up, is supposed to have gravitas. It's supposed to be a heavy event. You're supposed to be very taken aback when you find out the Joker's involved in something. But now I almost feel like I'm desensitized when he shows up. It's like, oh, it's a Joker story, and I just don't care. And it takes me back to the Batman the Animated Series, which I think a lot of people would agree is kind of quintessential Batman storytelling. And in the Batman the Animated Series, I still think Joker was probably in more episodes than any other villain. I could be wrong on that. Two-Face was in a lot. A lot of other villains showed up fairly regularly. But as I was going through the DVDs, I noticed on the 3rd season, Joker only had 1 appearance in that season. And it's a really good episode. And I think the episode is made even better for the fact that year, that was all we got from Joker. He showed up, and it was a good story, and it felt like it had weight, because we didn't get to see a lot of him that season. And I feel that a Joker or a villain of Joker's level should be utilized with a less is more kind of approach. Otherwise, he just loses everything that makes him menacing. You lose him everything that makes him the Joker. And I realize he's very popular now, and especially with the movie last year, he's just blown up. But even with all that popularity, give him the spotlight for a little bit, but he needs to bow back down in the shadows. So when he decides to come back up from the depths, we as readers and as Batman fans kind of take a deep breath or a gasp at the Joker's return, and it actually feels like something with weight and gravity. So, do I recommend this book? I don't know. I would say that this book is fairly slow. You can tell it's the beginning of a larger story. And if you're going to see it through to the end, then yeah, you're going to obviously need to pick it up. I wouldn't call this necessarily a must-read. If it were me, I would probably wait for the trade paperback. But because I do these videos and I talk to you guys, I wanted to get on this quick and let you know my thoughts. So if you've read The Killing or the Three Jokers, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your opinions. I know a lot of people have been very excited for this book. Let me know if this book lived up to your expectations or if it fell short of your expectations. Do you think the idea of Joker being three different guys is plausible, with the idea that Batman just never picked up on that? Or do you think that's kind of a tall order for you to believe? Are you looking forward to what the resolution of this story is or what the secret is? Maybe they have something. Maybe Geoff Johns has a great idea that's going to make all of this make sense, and I'm going to eat my words by the end of this series, and I have an open mind, and I'm willing to do that. But after reading issue number 1, I'm still the same. I'm mad on the book itself, and unfortunately, I have trouble buying into this story. So that's it. That's my review of Batman the Three Jokers. If anything, check it out for the artwork. It is brilliantly illustrated by Jason Fabok. He is at the top of his game in this book. So if anything else, you're going to have a pretty book to look at. So that's going to be it for me today. Please go ahead and check out my crowdfunding again. I'll have the link in the description, Malevolent Rising 2, and I will talk to you next time. See you soon. Bye.